Hello, how are you? So excited to be here. Dawn L, and this is the Embodied Oracle Show. And if you're new to me, I work with women and men too sometimes, but really leading from soul, which is all about soul embodied leadership. Which brings me to my topic today, which I'm super excited about because it's going to be about aligning with your higher self. And a lot of people might be like, what the hell is a higher self? What is that? Okay. It's your soul. It's your soul. So that's my definition of it. Your higher self is the highest aspect of you. It's your spirit. And your soul is infinite and has lived many lifetimes. And so when I'm speaking of how to align with your higher self, I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about what I've been noticing in my practice and with my clients, and some tips and things that can help you to really get connected with your higher self. Because one of the things that so many people that I talk to feel is separation. They feel disconnected from themselves. They feel very unfulfilled. They don't know their truth. They don't know how to trust themselves in their lives. And when I say trust yourselves, it's not like, am I going to drive right or left? Can I get myself somewhere? It's more like when the big decisions come up in life and you need to have deep clarity on those decisions, you go into fight or flight or freeze or fawn. You go into survival. You can't, it's hard for you to make decisions that move your life forward. Maybe you don't have clarity about certain things, or you've been stuck kind of looping in a pattern. And if those things are happening more than ever, you need to be connecting to your higher self, and using the wisdom of this inner elder, or you can call it like your cosmic ancient self. That's what I always like to call it, to receive guidance, information, and resource what your next steps in your life are. If you're still finding yourself going to other people and asking them what you should do about your life, then this is going to be an amazing conversation for you. Because truth be told, there comes a certain point of time in our lives where we need to figure out what our next steps are. We don't need to be looking outside of ourselves whatsoever. Your highest alignment is going to come from listening to the truth and the intuition of your soul. And so I've noticed that when, the first part of our life, up until, and there's no defining age, by the way, when I say this, but there's a big portion of our lives are spent climbing towards a goal and operating from ego and being told how to behave in this life. Think about that. There's like instructions in some way of how is based upon, what your parents think, what society thinks, what your teachers think, all these things, right? And you're like, okay, and you don't even realize that you're being programmed. You don't even see that, there's this like kind of like subtle, information infiltrating you on an everyday basis that creates the reality that you're seeing your life from. And it's this imperceptible influence that impacts the way that you behave. And a lot of it's based on ego. And then one day you wake up and you realize, like, wait a second. Like, one of my favorite examples of this is one of my, it wasn't a client, it was a guy friend of mine. And he was he's an amazing doctor. And he was telling me about, he's gay and in a partnership, but there was a time in his life where he was told to go to this school and do this thing and be this guy. And so he was married before that. He was trying to live accordingly to what other people thought that he was supposed to, what he was told to do. And then he woke up one day and was like, this isn't what I want. And that's massive, misalignment, right? It's like if he kept driving his car in that direction of trying to fit himself into that box of being married when he's actually to a woman when he's actually gay, you could see the ramifications of what that life could be for him. He could be miserable. So there comes a point in time where you may wake up to realize, wow, I've been really living my life from my ego, from what people told me I needed to be or do so that I can have the life that I want. And if you haven't like come to that conclusion, or maybe it's happening for you right now in your life, or maybe it happened a while back, it doesn't really matter. It's just important that you wake up and you discover that there is a deeper, wiser part of you that actually has the blueprints, the direction, the truth for where you really want to go in your life. And when you start to recognize that there's this operating system within you that's coming straight from source. So your spirit, I always like to say your spirit, like it's like a drop of water, like going back into the ocean, source being the ocean, right? We are part of this universal energy. And when you connect to source through your soul, that part of you that is timeless, you have an ability to access massive wisdom. A lot of my clients come to me because they want to learn how to access that massive wisdom, and I teach them. I teach them to learn how to trust themselves. I cannot tell you how many women I work with that are like asking me, should I leave this relationship? Should I do this? And I'm like, well, what do you think? What is your soul telling you? I don't know. Well, let's figure it out. So when you start to let go of what society and the programming has formulated for you. So you're going to find that maybe a big part of your life was working towards something. And then the realization of like, I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like my job. I don't like this relationship. Because they were all based on choosing from your wounding, choosing from a past that was told and dictated to you on a very subtle, or maybe not so subtle level. And then the work becomes unpacking all of that. But to connect with your higher self, which is what this is all about, aligning with your higher self, is there does have to be an unpacking process. It's like, you're going to have to let go of those beliefs and those things that aren't aligned with you. And the easiest way to see that is, are you happy in your life? If you're living a life because you're like, well, my parents want me to be this person, or I was told at a young age to get married to, because that's how you're going to be happy. Well, is that true for you? Yeah, and I mean, I know for me, I did that all in my early life. Like I got married by a certain day. I was like, okay, and then I got to buy these properties and I got to do all these things, and I did all these things, and I woke up one morning and I was like, why am I so freaking miserable? Like, what is this? And it was like, well, this isn't even the life that I want. I'm just doing this because everybody else is doing it. This is what I was told I was supposed to do, or I thought I was supposed to do. And it was like a massive wake-up call for me. And I was like, oh, gosh, wait a second. I'm not supposed to live like everybody else. I don't want to do that. Because the future that you're supposed to be living is uniquely yours. It's not meant for it. Your future is going to look vastly different than somebody else's if you're doing it right. So anyways, to start to connect with your higher self, after you start to unpack some of the layers, then you're going to start to kind of come into this space of like, and I love to use it as an example of when you're coming from your ego. It's very much aligned with, I think, for me, it's like, I always see the lower chakras. It's like, it's like the power, like I have to, I'm forcing, I'm making this happen. I'm driven towards these things. You're going to produce that future that you want, right? You're going to make those goals happen. Been there, done that. You could do that. It's not sustainable because it's not coming from your soul's alignment. So once you start to realize, like, wait a second, I want to come from my heart, I want to come from the truth of my being, then you start to access this, your heart space, where your soul and spirit, same, reside. And you start to realize that your body is the barometer of your soul. It is telling you through signals whether you're on path or off path, whether you're excited and feel expansive about your life, or you're contracted and feel sick about things. Maybe your physical body's even sick. Maybe before you go to work, you get a stomach ache. Maybe when you hang out with that certain person, you're just not excited in your body whatsoever. If you're not listening to your body, start listening to your body, because your body is indicating to you where you're out of alignment. So part of aligning with your higher self is listening. Just like you would listen to a conversation with somebody else, you start to listen to yourself, which means you have to carve out time for yourself. If you're in this like busy hustle, I gotta go, I gotta do this, oh my God, like we give prizes and awards to the people that are like super busy. I used to be like, I'm so busy. I mean, I do get really busy sometimes. I'm a, mom of 2 daughters. I have a boyfriend that lives in a different state. Like I am really busy. I'm running a full, beautiful business. I am busy. But I have to make time for myself. I have to have self-care because I want to align with my higher self. If you're on the rat, wheel, the little going, there's a pretty good chance you're not listening and you don't have time to slow down and to be with yourself. And if you took the time to be with yourself, you might be wildly uncomfortable. I hear this all the time. People going, well, I don't want to slow down. Like then I'd have to like be with myself and like think about how I feel. Stop running from yourself. You want to be connected to your higher self. You want to know the truth of your life. You got to slow down and listen to it. You got to hear yourself. So one of the first ways is listen to your body. Notice what your body is trying to tell you. Second thing is to carve out time for solitude so that you're really in a space of starting to get to know yourself. And it doesn't matter how old you are. I work with people that are in their 20s that are going through this, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s and up, where they're like, oh my gosh, I'm finally getting to know what I want. And then it's like a muscle you have to exercise, because once you start to connect to your higher self and your soul, you may doubt that. You may say, I don't know if this is real. I got this intuitive hit, because the language of the soul is intuition. It's intuition, and it's a feeling, and it's a knowing. It's a vision. It's hearing something, not with your, if you're seeing something, it's not with these eyes. It's with your third eye, right? So it's this sixth sense, right? Intuition speaks to you through symbolism and metaphor and direct, information that might come in. And you may say to yourself, well, I don't know if I can trust that. So you work with it. You start to learn how to trust it. You start to learn to carve out time so that you can start to listen to what your intuition is trying to tell you and to start taking action. Because the truth with intuition is, if you don't pay attention to it, if you just kind of keep dismissing it, then you're never building up your trust and your confidence in it. And the whole point is, if you're going to align with your higher self and be deeply connected to your soul, it's kind of like if somebody's always speaking to you in a foreign language and you can't understand it. That's intuition for some people. They just don't understand it because they've never practiced like really listening to it. And so it's important. It's important because that's how your higher self is going to speak to you. And when you start to build more confidence, you start to act from the space of your heart, from your soul, from your higher self. You're not going to necessarily, the things that were important to you when you were living your life based on your ego and who you thought you were supposed to be aren't going to be as important. I used to always want to have things. I mean, I love things. I still like abundance. I still love to have nice things, but it would be like, well, if I don't have this purse, then maybe I'm not, it was like everything was like a status thing. And, oh, I have to do this. And, oh, if I'm not making this much money, that doesn't mean, maybe I'm not as, like all this noise and just crap, right? Your soul wants you to be happy. Your soul speaks to you through essences. Essences are feelings. I teach about all this in Futuring. So if you want to start to shift and align with your higher self, you're going to learn to feel deeply and realize that it is a superpower. And then start to identify what it is that you want to feel in your life, because your future self. So if you're unpacking and moving away from who you used to be, I highly suggest and invite you to start to think about who you want to become. Who do you want to be? If you're aligning with your soul, what is she or he telling you? You know, how do you see yourself? Envision it. Start to imagine what life could be like living from the truth of your soul. So for me, it was getting rid of, you know, the job that I had at the time that was soul sucking. It was getting out of the marriage I had back then. It was moving into a new place. I mean, I literally, my soul was like, you need to make changes. You need to do these different things. This isn't the life that you're supposed to be living. And I was like, okay. So I made these changes. It could be more subtle for you. Maybe it's one area of your life that you need to change. It's going to take a lot of courage, because the truth of your soul is not the truth of somebody else's. It's what I said earlier. It's uniquely yours. So be willing to trust that when you start to align, you're going to experience synchronicities, connection, fulfillment beyond what you could even dream of. I literally sometimes think to myself, the life that I'm living right now, I cannot believe it sometimes, because I used to dream about being able to coach and help women all over the world, impact people's lives. It just seemed like a pipe dream. It's like I'm sitting behind a desk at one point in my 20s going, oh, it'd be so cool to be able to do that. And here I am, I'm doing it. I lead retreats. I get to travel. I've literally co-created my life based on what my soul has always wanted, based on feeling, based on being really clear on how I want to feel and envisioning it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, what resonates for you, and, you know, just really understanding that the moment you intentionally say, I want to have a relationship with my higher self, or you want to deepen into your relationship with your higher self, command it, claim it, and watch how the universe will conspire to bring in the right people, situations, and circumstances to really help move you along with creating deeper connection with yourself and ultimately the divine. I am so freaking excited because I am enrolling right now for a program called Reclaiming Soul. It's a group coaching program. I'm taking a small group of women for it's going to start mid-October, but it's going to go for 7 months. I had a little bonus month in there because of the holidays. And this program is going to be maybe different than anything you've ever seen, because I do a hybrid style where I love to teach a little bit. So I'm going to be, you know, I'm certified in so many different things. But most importantly, I'm going to take you through a whole process. Hey, Rochelle, where we're going to be cleaning up. The first couple of months are really going to be cleaning up the past, the wounding. Like I'm, you know, really getting clear on the patterns, the version that you've been operating as, and the patterns that she has, and clearing up the old trauma. So a lot of trauma resolution work. I love doing that. I love moving it out of your body. I'm trauma certified. Then getting really clear on who you are right now, the version that you need to be in order to create the reality. So we're going to do some futuring. We're really going to align with the energy and the feelings and how you have to operate, because that's so important. You know, and I'm going to hold you in that, because as you're moving through things, it's not such, it's intellectual. You need to have the understanding of how you're operating, but it's also going to be in your body. So I coach you and I align you with the frequencies of your soul through doing some healing work, some hypnosis, some channeling, all sorts of stuff. All sorts of fun stuff. And then we're going to do some futuring. So it's a very comprehensive, where we're letting go of the past, we're stepping into a new version, and we're futuring and creating what you want to have be, you know, for who you're going to be next year. Super excited. I already have a couple women in it. If you are interested in this, and then there is a retreat with us. It's a weekend retreat where we're going to be doing some sacred ceremony work, which is always life-changing. If you listen to any of my videos, you know I'm a big proponent of that work. And I love to bring it into my containers, and I love creating intimacy and community. I really do. I've watched the programs I have women become super close and tight, because I will show up in my authenticity, and so will you. So if you're interested, message me. Like I said, it's currently enrolling for it. I can send you some more information, and it is by application only, because it's going to be a very intimate group of women. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week. Sending you all so much love, and I'll talk to you soon.